As mentioned, residents had a chance to get up close and personal.
Good evening and welcome to a very special edition of the TBT News Hour. Special by virtue of what you see in front of you, perhaps the preeminent professional trophy in North American sports today, Lord Stanley's Cup, and of course the star forward of the Chicago Blackhawks, who's made it possible for us to share in this fun time, Patrick Sharp. Patrick, welcome and thank you very much for being with us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You just come from an extended session down at the Fort William Gardens. I know hundreds upon hundreds of fans lining up to get a moment with the Cup. Tell me, why is it so important for you to share this with the people of Thunder Bay?
Oh, it's great. It's always exciting to bring the Cup back to Thunder Bay. I'm fortunate that this is my second time to do it, and I've always said that I'm proud to be from the city. I'm grateful for all the support that the fans have given me. I come from a great family that spent a lot of time here in Thunder Bay, so to spend a few hours at the Fort William Gardens and shake some hands and take pictures is the least I can do.
You mentioned, of course, this is the second time in 4 years. Let's talk about the journey to get here. Is the second time around any different from the first?
A little bit different. The first time, so many emotions during the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're riding highs and lows on every goal and every win, every loss. This time I feel like I've been deep in the playoffs a few times, obviously winning it before. Your emotions kind of stay even keeled. So you kind of respect and know what lies ahead, and you know how much work it takes.
A little older, a little different sense of appreciation perhaps?
Absolutely. It's fun to win it. It's always great to hoist over my head. I've worked my whole life to win that trophy, so whenever I can grab a hold of it, it feels great. But as soon as you win that trophy, it's not really about you anymore. It's about my parents that helped me get there. It's about my wife, my older brother, all the people that have supported me and helped me get to the place that I am today.
It's been a banner year for Patrick Sharp. Stanley Cup, of course, being a big part of it. The invitation to the Olympic camp. We're also going to throw in the addition of your firstborn. Tell me, would you rank them? Can you rank them?
It's tough to do that, Professionally, it's been a fun time playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm blessed to be a part of that organization. 2 cups in 4 years is pretty special. I'm happy that I can be a part of both of them. And then in my personal life, I couldn't be happier. I come from a great family, as I mentioned. My wife and I are expecting our second daughter in October, and our first daughter, Madeline, is almost 2 years old now, and she's just a joy every day.
Let's talk about the whole Olympic tournament or the Olympic camp experience. You head off in about 3 weeks time for that. Thoughts and expectations heading in?
Yeah, it's a personal goal, no question about it. I've had the opportunity to play for Hockey Canada twice before in the World Championship situation, and it's always a lot of fun to put the jersey on. Obviously, when you talk about some of the quality players that our country has, I'm just honored to be on the list, but I'm going to do everything I can to make that team.
Let's look ahead now to next year with the Hawks. Salary cap, of course, is probably the preeminent factor in keeping a team together these days. The team has managed to do a sterling job in doing that this time around. Your expectations going into next season, can we expect more of the same from the Hawks going through?
I hope so. There was a lot of talk about Stanley Cup hangover, and it's tough to repeat as champions. In 2010, we lost half our team because the Stanley Cup or the salary cap issue. So we got a number of guys returning next year. Looks like we're gonna have the same team in a lot of key areas. As long as we're healthy and motivated, I don't see why we can't be back here again.
Patrick, we want to thank you for joining us. We understand there are a number of demands on your time, so allowing us a few moments to share it with the folks of Thunder Bay has been very, very generous of you, and we're grateful. Thank you once again.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and like I said, thank you to the city of Thunder Bay for all the support over the years.
And as a Hawk fan, I'll be counting on that 3rd cup next year. Now let's go back to Holly on the desk for the rest of today's news.
Thanks, Barry. Well, as mentioned, residents had a chance to get up close and personal with Lord Stanley's mug earlier today. People were lined up for hours outside of Fort William Gardens for the opportunity to meet the Hawks assistant captain and have a picture taken. Matt Scooby was there.
The people of Thunder Bay have been a little bit spoiled when it comes to visits by the Stanley Cup. For the fourth time in 7 years, hundreds of people were on hand to see the Cup and the man who's now won it twice, Patrick Sharp at the Gardens.
Yeah, it's a little bit spoiling. It's not as triumphant as the first one, but still, we'll take it.
The Star family are avid Chicago fans and drove all the way from Pick River First Nation to see the Cup. They were among the first people to line up at 9:30, but this wasn't a first-time experience for them.
The first year we brought our daughter, and so this year we're bringing our son, and we try and make it out to Chicago every year to see a game in the playoffs. So it's worth it to come back here after and see the Cup, bring it home.
Avery Hutari couldn't miss an opportunity like this. She's a huge Sharp fan and got her friend Alana to give her a ride and then wait in line with her. Hutari says it was unbelievable to see Lord Stanley's mug in person, and she even managed to sneak in a hug with her favorite player.
Yeah, I planned that a while back. I just kind of like how he came from here, and it's not really that big of a town, and he is a really popular Chicago Blackhawks player, so that's probably what I like the best about him. And if he was from another town, I probably would still like him, but not as much as I do now.
All of the kids in attendance were also pretty pumped.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, why is that?
Because I got to meet Patrick Sharp. Because I met because I like to meet Stanley Cup. Because I like to meet NHL players. It's really fun.
Yeah? Why is that?
Because not very often the Cup comes here.
After the day of public events, Sharp says the plan was to bring the Cup back to his house for a little relaxation and a small party. Randy Sheffy will have more on Sharp's day with the Cup coming up in sports. Matt Scooby, TBT News.
Looks like a great day. Well, in other news, a Thunder Bay man is the focus of a Canada-wide warrant issued today in relation to a sexual assault investigation involving a child. The investigation began on July 25th and has led to charges laid against 62-year-old Arthur Joseph Lyons for sexual assault, sexual interference, and breach of probation. Detectives have been attempting to locate this man, but he has been evading the police. The Canada-wide warrant was issued for the safety of the community. Anyone with information of the whereabouts of Arthur Joseph Lyons is asked to contact Thunder Bay Police or Crime Stoppers. A local laundromat and convenience store was robbed on the city's south side during yesterday's dinner hour. Thunder Bay Police say a man threatened an employee of Barb's laundromat with a syringe. The incident happened around 6:30 on the 300 block of May Street. Police say a man entered the store, threatened the employee with a syringe, and demanded money from the till. The employee complied, and the accused left the building heading south on May. The employee was not harmed. The suspect is described as a native Canadian, approximately 6 feet tall and 210 pounds. He was wearing a black t-shirt with white writing across the chest, a white baseball hat, black sunglasses, a black zip-up jacket, and white skateboard-style shoes. He also had a dark backpack. Police are asking anyone with information to call police or Crime Stoppers. Meanwhile, Mac's Convenience Stores is confirming that the highest rate of crime in their stores by far happens here in Thunder Bay. The chain is responding to a story we did last week with a former employee of Mac's. Kyla Turner spoke to TBT News last week in hopes of changing things at the local stores. She felt scared every night she went to work and feared she would be killed. Turner claims her brother, who was also a local Mac's employee, was chased by a robber with a knife. Turner and others have called for an enclosed barrier around the counter. Mac's officials say that seems logical at first, but don't believe it is an effective way to deter robberies. Staff claim the barriers could deflect the crime to a customer. A statement by the company explains they have invested significant dollars in security and design changes at the local stores and will continue to review other methods. At least 8 Mac's stores have been robbed in Thunder Bay this year. Well, Premier Kathleen Wynne says losing 3 of the 5 Liberal seats in last night's Ontario by-elections was a clear judgment of the government's recent past. Wynne says she heard the message that voters are angry over the way the Liberals cancelled 2 gas plants before the last election. The NDP added 2 seats last night, and the Progressive Conservatives also won a seat.
Thrilled to have Doug joining. You know, for the first time since 1999, we won a seat in the Liberal stronghold of Toronto. We broke through. We won an urban riding that was held by a high-profile cabinet minister. You know what that tells me? The PC party is moving forward. We're going to take more Toronto and GTA seats.
Well, you know, they went from 5 very strong seats that were held by high-profile cabinet ministers to barely holding on to 2 seats. I mean, you know, when I was in school and got 40% on a test, it wasn't really a good result. And so I think that the Liberals were sent a very strong message last night by the people in these 5 ridings.
We know that we lost 3 ridings that we used to hold, and I've said consistently that by-elections are an opportunity for citizens to send a message to government. That message was sent, and we've heard that message loudly and clearly, that people expect more of us.
The election results have led to speculation that the opposition might want to bring down the minority Liberals. There appears to be little chance for the 2 parties to defeat the Liberals in a confidence vote before the provincial budget next spring. Well, within 2 weeks' time, a pedestrian crossway into Marina Park will be closed for repairs. A city contractor will be carrying out minor repairs to the walkway, along with a significant facelift to the structure. The walkway was constructed roughly 20 years ago and is now receiving upgrades to blend in better with the surrounding buildings. The pedestrian crossing will be repainted gray with another rough coat of paint applied to the floor for better traction. Cables are to be strung on the support pillars with the intention of planting vines along the base. Wood-like paneling will also be installed on the marina side of the structure to help blend in. City project engineer Mike Vogrig says this is all part of Thunder Bay's annual infrastructure upgrade budget.
There are some kind of minor concrete repairs. We're kind of fixing some holes and fixing some cracking and stuff like that. We're repairing, replacing and repairing the railing as well, stuff that's basically deteriorated. But while we're there, we're doing some of the kind of a little bit of a facelift work too, so it matches with the rest of the marina.
Tenders for the upcoming project will be closing next week, and construction is to begin shortly after. Completion of the project is slated for the end of September, at which point it will reopen to pedestrian traffic.
Well, turning to weather now, Fiona, a great way to start off the long weekend. The rain held off today, and is there better things in store for us?
Well, I think so. We may not get temperatures that are quite as warm as we have seen in previous years, but we're certainly expecting some sunshine. Last 24 hours, we had the last vestiges of rain move out, and that's brought us nice, fairly clear skies across the region, and Thunder Bay allowed us to top out with a high of 21. No humidex values to talk about, and that's partially because of the winds from the north-northwest. At times we're gusting up to 43 kilometers per hour, so a little blustery at times, but all in all, it was a beautiful, mostly, well, partly sunny, we'll call it, this afternoon. Now across the region at this time, we're in the high teens, low 20s, a bit cool as you head up to Pickle Lake and Big Trout Lake, despite the sunshine. It's a little bit on the cool side there, but Fort Frances and Atikokan still managing to hit 20 Celsius. And tonight we're looking at a low of about 8, mainly clear skies. There's a slight risk we might see a shower or 2 in the next couple of hours, but for the most part it is looking relatively clear overnight with winds from the west. And as we head into Saturday, day 1 of your 3-day weekend, high pressure center moving in. That's going to do 2 things. It's going to keep the sunshine out there, but it's also going to bring a little bit of more of a northwesterly flow. We've already started to see it today because of the high moving in. That's going to continue tomorrow, which could make it at times a little bit cooler than we've seen the last couple of days, maybe about 18, 19. But we should still top out with a high of 20 tomorrow. And that's just going to be day 1 of the weekend. That's going to be very busy in Thunder Bay. I'll have more details on what everybody's going to experience later on the news hour.
Thanks, Fiona. Don't think there'll be any complaints with that forecast. Well, we have more on the tragic train derailment in Lac-Mégantic, Quebec. Stay with us. That's coming up after the break. When a runaway train exploded in Lac-Mégantic, it destroyed the Musique Café, a popular bar. Many of the staff and patrons died. Now the bar is set to become a central meeting place once again, this time under a tent. Here's Thomas Dagla.
Volunteers and staff have been working feverishly to get the venue ready. Only 48 hours ago, there was no tent here, no patio, nothing. But now the Musique Café has a temporary home, thanks in large part to volunteers.
This is a very important and key time, I think, for this community. People are waking up out of shock. We've been in shock and walking around kind of numb.
Yesterday morning, the director of the hospital just offered us a fridge. He said, well, I have one available downstairs, so if you want it, we're going to bring it. So here, this is a very small community, okay, 6,000 people, so everybody knows somebody.
Several clients and staff members died in the explosions that followed the train derailment nearly a month ago. For those who survived, it's been hard to move on, but they say now they will at least have a place they can get together and clear their minds.
Each person feel sad and alone, so and they don't have a place. You know, the Musique Café was the soul, was a big family, and they miss it. For a lot of people, the Musique Café was a second house, a second place. So now they going back at home.
The plan is to hold free concerts every weekend for the coming weeks. Tonight, the series begins with Fred Pellerin, a well-known singer-songwriter and a storyteller. All funds raised will go to the rebuilding of Lac-Mégantic. It's also a chance for people who lost their jobs due to the train derailment to get back to work. And of course, it's a place for people to come together and clear their mind. Yesterday, police said they were ending their search for victims at the derailment site. Now begins the slow process of moving on. Thomas Dagla, CBC News, Lac-Mégantic.
The United States is closing a number of embassies on Sunday, primarily in the Middle East, because of a terrorist threat. Canada's Foreign Minister John Baird says Ottawa is monitoring the situation but isn't closing any embassies for now. But it has issued a travel alert. Keith Bogue has more on what's behind the American move.
Watch out behind you, cars trying to get through. Lawmakers are heading out of the capital for the August break, just as the U.S. is warning of a worldwide terrorist threat.
Can you tell us more about the worldwide threat, please? What are you briefed about?
Obviously, it's serious enough that we're taking concrete steps to make sure that our personnel overseas are safe.
20 of the 21 embassies that the U.S. has ordered closed this Sunday are in northern African and Middle Eastern countries, such as Egypt, Yemen, and Libya. The other is in Bangladesh.
The department has been apprised of information that, out of an abundance of caution and care for our employees and others who may be visiting our installations, that indicates we should institute these precautionary steps.
The State Department has also issued a worldwide travel alert identifying al-Qaeda and affiliated groups as possibly planning attacks in those regions and beyond.
Now that it's in the public domain, that the embassies will be closed, and there's a travel alert for Americans traveling abroad, there's some understanding of the seriousness of the threat.
This is what happened to the American consulate in Benghazi, Libya last year, when it failed to take sufficient notice of the possibility of an attack on September 11th. Among the 4 dead in that attack was the American ambassador to Libya. The administration's political opponents are still saying the White House was asleep at the switch on that one.
It's not as the president campaigned on, you know, al-Qaeda's on the run and everything's fine. That was the prevailing attitude, and now I think we're on the receiving end of the reality that was not true, and it's not true today.
Not surprisingly, the State Department isn't sharing its information about a potential attack, but there are reports that the focus of U.S. attention is on a particular country, and that country is Yemen. Keith Bogue, CBC News, Washington.
Aboriginal activists are concerned with how Toronto police are handling the investigation into the death of a Native woman. The 25-year-old from northern Alberta plunged to her death from a high-rise balcony 2 weeks ago. And as Ron Charles reports, some people say they're worried police aren't treating the case seriously enough.
On the street outside one of Toronto's new high-rise developments sits a makeshift memorial to Bella Labokan McLean. The young Aboriginal woman plunged to her death at 5 a.m. 2 weeks ago from the 31st floor balcony of an apartment belonging to some acquaintances. Police are treating it as a suspicious death. No one from the group of people in the apartment at the time called police right away. Someone else in the building did. And it took days for the witnesses to come forward.
We've interviewed a number of witnesses. We've got statements from all of them, and the investigation is still ongoing. At this point, it's still being investigated as a suspicious death. We have nothing to get us to a conclusion at this point.
Labokan McLean came to Toronto from her northern Alberta community to study fashion arts at college. She had met up with acquaintances at this Toronto nightclub before heading to the condo. Her family is appealing for anyone who might know anything about what happened to come forward.
Right now, and since the beginning, it's been listed as a suspicious death, and we know that something went wrong that night. We know that Bella would have never intentionally hurt herself. We know that there is something amiss.
Audrey Huntley worries that police are not taking the case as seriously as they should. She runs No More Silence, a group dedicated to raising awareness about murdered and missing Aboriginal women.
What I've been observing since the late 90s is basically that they feel like these women don't matter, that some people matter more than others.
But police say they are taking Labokan McLean's death very seriously and hope to conclude their investigation soon. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
Egyptian authorities are threatening to crack down on opponents in the coming days if they don't stop protesting over the recent coup. Sasha Petrusik has the latest from Cairo.
They're absorbed in prayer, but preoccupied with protest. Tens of thousands of supporters of the ousted President Mohamed Morsi. They may be threatened with eviction by the police and military, possibly by force, but they are defiant. These are not just attacks on us, on our president, says the Imam. These are attacks on Islam. For weeks now, Morsi supporters, many members of the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood, have been camped out under huge banners demanding Morsi return, behind rows of sandbags, daring the new interim government to attack. They wait with their gas masks.
I'm here because of her future, okay? So I want to leave it all, or I will be killed here.
Over the past few days, the government and the security forces have been issuing warnings. Move out of this area, take your children, take your families back out into the countryside, other neighborhoods, because the police will be moving in to clear it. Today, as the Brotherhood held another series of marches through Cairo, the government said police will be sealing off the camp within 48 hours.
We consider this does not have anything to do with the peaceful demonstration.
Badr Abdelati is helping set up the new government with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He says all the violence has been the result of provocations by protesters.
There is no single democracy can accept demonstrators coming with firearms, with Molotovs, and attacking a military complex. This is not acceptable.
In the camp, they say their real threat to the government is political, not physical.
We are completely armless.
They say they have no weapons and no intention of leaving here tonight or ever unless the clock is turned back to an Islamist presidency. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Cairo.
Musicians often tell some pretty remarkable stories through their music, and that's certainly true for a Toronto singer. He's reached into his family's history for the compelling tale of what happened to his grandfather during the Second World War. Deanna Sumanak picks up the story.
It's a song about humanity in the midst of war, not your typical indie rock song. Menno Versteeg is the lead singer of the Canadian rock band Hollerado, best known for their punk-flavored party anthems. But the band's new song and music video is a loving tribute to Versteeg's late grandfather and his youth as a resistance fighter in Nazi-occupied Holland.
Those stories were absolutely fascinating, and I loved hearing them.
Among all the stories of Versteeg's grandfather's courageous act, there was also a story of a captured by the Nazis and a life-changing conversation with a high-ranking German officer.
My grandfather was able to say to the German, listen, what would you do if you were in my situation? If your country had been occupied by another country, if your city, Rotterdam, had just been completely flattened by German bombs, what would you do? And the German said to him, oh, I would do exactly the same thing you're doing. I would fight back. You have to.
The German officers spared Verstig's grandfather's life, putting him in prison rather than killing him. And at the end of the war, the Dutch resistance fighter returned the favor. He testified at the German officer's war crimes trial and ended up saving his life. Almost 70 years later, Menno Verstig and the German officer's grandson met while Verstig was in Europe shooting a music video for the song about his grandfather.
I went to Munich and we met each other. Lives on the other side of the world, has so many of the same interests I do, great dry sense of humor, loves to drink beer like I do.
So I think now really the circle is closing.
Today, they're keeping their grandfather's war experiences alive through an unusual medium. Deanna Sumanak, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, a day of frolic turned into a life-threatening incident for a 5-year-old boy in China. Firefighters worked feverishly to save the boy after he got trapped between two walls. The boy fell into a gap while playing with a friend. He couldn't pull himself free, but firefighters eventually managed to pry him loose. Incredibly, the boy was not injured. Now let's take a look at the day's market activity. In Toronto, the TSX advanced 9 points to 12,603. The Dow rose 30 points to 15,658. And the Nasdaq gained 13 points to 36.89. The Canadian dollar closed at 96.25 cents, down 4 cents. Gold dropped 70 cents to $1,310. And crude fell 95 cents to $106.94 per barrel. Well, the Thunder Bay Chill, we mentioned they were heading to Texas. Now they're there and they're playing their first game.
Yeah, the first half with the Victoria Highlanders from BC is now just underway. We'll have the result on the late edition. The winner, of course, will probably end up playing the host team, the Austin Aztecs, who are playing a team from New Jersey in the other semifinal, which will be later tonight. Also, as we all know, it's been a memorable day for Thunder Bay's Patrick Sharp. The Chicago Blackhawks star has been traveling around the city with the Stanley Cup. And the most famous trophy in sports made its first stop this morning at the George Jeffrey Children's Center. Tara Allaire was there, and she is the story.
Patrick Sharp has a definite soft spot for the kids at the George Jeffrey Children's Center. He first brought the Stanley Cup here 3 years ago, the first time he won it. And just like last time, he was greeted by a lot of cheers from some of his youngest fans as he arrived with the cup. Travis and Ryan Ward said the best part of seeing their hockey hero up close was everything.
The whole thing. The whole thing? I like watching hockey. He's a really good hockey player.
Andy Wilson brought his son Dade to see Patrick in the cup. He says it'll be a few more years until Dade understands just how special today's event was.
It was awesome. I think it's pretty cool that someone like that will take the time out to come and just hang out with these kids. I mean, they're very special to a lot of people, especially the parents. But it's nice that somebody who's that important comes to just hang out with us. You know, it just makes us feel a little normal and special. And yeah, it's cool.
Executive Director Marianne Camuzzi said the event was an amazing opportunity for the kids. She said it was a great feeling knowing the very first stop for Patrick in the Cup was the Children's Center.
We feel pretty awesome. We're pretty special. These kids, I would love that people could see the looks on these children's faces. We had a little boy who was so excited yesterday, and that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about, that they have an opportunity, and Patrick is so generous to share his day with us. It made these kids feel so important that the cup was brought here.
Sharp will host his second annual children's charity golf tournament on Thursday at the Fort William Country Club. Proceeds will go to the George Jeffrey Children's Center. Tara Allaire, TBT Sports.
It's day 3 of the Canadian Senior Little League Baseball Championships at Baseball Central. The Thunder Bay Selects will battle South Ottawa tonight. That game is now underway. Bad weather last night caused the Selects to take to the field early this morning against Fraser Valley, BC. Matt Scooby has the rundown.
The Thunder Bay Selects coming off an 11-4 win over Lethbridge to start the Canadian Senior Little League Championship, looking to make it 2 in a row. Top one runner at third with 2 out. DJ DePiro ground ball to short. Should be inning over, but Connor Stockley Mervin airmails the throw to first. Brennan Tianhara scores on the error, and Thunder Bay takes an early 1-0 lead. Home half of the inning, Fraser Valley with runners at second and third when select starter Dan Del Paggio uncorks the wild pitch. Ben McCarthy takes off from third, and he scores easily. That ties the game up at 1. Top 2, Max Ridholm with a soft blooper to the left side. And watch the diving grab by Stockley Mervin, atoning for the earlier error with a nice defensive play. After the wild pitch, Del Paggio would settle in. He freezes Brett Honeysett in the bottom of the second. Del Paggio had 4 strikeouts through 3. Same inning. How about some more defense? Tyler Miniletti throws out Stockley Mervin, who was trying to steal third. That's a great toss. In the next inning, Del Paggio does it himself. The nice pickoff move catches Nathan Coleman napping at first. But then the big storm system moved in, bringing lightning and thunder. The game was immediately stopped. Players and volunteers busted out the tarp and covered the field. They suspended the game, and after resuming it this morning, the Selects hammered out 15 more runs on their way to a 16-7 victory. With the win, Thunder Bay moves to 2-0. Matt Scooby, TBT Sports.
Well, the Border Cats are now 1-3 on their final road trip of the year, losing last night 20-12 in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Chris Kerwood was shelled, giving up 10 runs in the first inning. Brad Burcroft took care of the offense. He drove in 6 of the dozen runs for the Cats, including a Grand Slam homer. Thunder Bay will visit Mankato tonight. In Major League Baseball is negotiating with New York Yankee Alex Rodriguez, who could face a possible lifetime suspension unless he cuts the deal. Peter Armstrong with the latest.
Alex Rodriguez is trying to lay low, making every effort to avoid talking about his impending suspension. But the trickiest footwork is all happening behind the scenes as A-Rod negotiates with the league. He's hoping to avoid a lifetime ban from baseball, but he's facing a long suspension, perhaps as long as 200 games.
I feel great. That's all I got to say.
At issue is his connection to this Miami clinic owned by Tony Bosch. Rodriguez is among as many as 20 players who allegedly came here to get performance-enhancing drugs. Just a week ago, another player, Ryan Braun, accepted a 65-game suspension in the same investigation. But Rodriguez is one of the biggest names in baseball, and he has doped and he has lied about it in the past.
For the record, have you ever used steroids, human growth hormone, or any other performance-enhancing substance?
No. I did take a banned substance. People will see this for what it is, a stupid mistake and a lesson learned.
Major League Baseball says Rodriguez never learned the lesson, and it reportedly has proof he was using performance-enhancing drugs as recently as 2010.
One big scandal.
This Toronto sports lawyer says this case is the first time baseball has actually investigated, not just waited for a positive drug test.
It's text messages, it's receipts, it's all sorts of documentary evidence that Tony Bosch and his clinic Biogenesis kept that shows enough evidence, reportedly, to have baseball and its players and the union even accept these punishments.
And so, the league, once one of the biggest prevaricators in the fight against doping, is now embracing its own investigative power. Players are no longer flocking to the side of those accused, leaving stars like A-Rod ever more isolated. We're now being told that Major League Baseball will announce the suspension, however long it may be, on Monday. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Todd Redmond gets to start on the mound for the Blue Jays tonight in the second of a four-gamer in Anaheim with the LA Angels. The Halos had their way with the Birds in the opener last night. Well, you wouldn't know the Angels had lost 6 in a row the way this one started. In the first inning alone, they sent 9 to the plate. They scored 4 runs, including Mark Trumbo's 24th home run of the year. They would play another in the second. Then in the third, Eric Ibar with the single to left. Melky Cabrera gets to the ball, but watch him flub the throw. That doesn't even happen in Little League. 2 Angels are plated, and it's 7-zip after 3. Josh Johnson, the Jays pitcher, couldn't find the plate in this one. He's done after 2 1/3 innings. The Angels take game number 1, 8-2. And we have one game in the CFL tonight. Edmonton playing host to Hamilton. Both those teams are 1-4. A good reason to watch if you're suffering from insomnia. And Winnipeg will have a new starting quarterback for its game Monday in BC. Justin Goltz takes over for the demoted Buck Pierce.
Not happy about it at all. I don't feel, in my opinion, it's the right move.
Given Pierce's history of injuries, this was a move general manager Joe Mack and head coach Tim Burke felt they had to make, maybe to save their own jobs, because this organization was never going to move forward with so much uncertainty at the most important position on the field.
We just feel like we have a desire and a need to develop the quarterbacks for the future of the organization.
Justin Goltz has been handed the football for the rest of this season. He'll be afforded the time to gain experience and show that he is the quarterback for the future.
It's a confidence builder. It definitely means a lot to me that they have faith in me to put the ball in my hands and try and win games for this team. And the fact that, I don't necessarily have to look over my shoulder or think that you could be replaced at any given mistake, is a breath of fresh air. But at the same time, I know I need to come in and compete, and I know those results need to be shown.
For Bomber fans that come out to watch practice, promoting Goltz and demoting Pierce met with their approval.
In the last game, the team didn't do well as a whole, but he had some really good moments. So I think give him the time and he could do well.
Well, we need some new young blood in there, and these young quarterbacks are coming up, as we saw in the last games.
And barring injuries to either Goltz or Max Hall, Buck Pierce has likely played his last game for the Bombers, as he doesn't see how he'll still be around in September when veteran contracts become guaranteed.
They'll have to make a decision of what they want to do with me. And that's the reality of the game. That's the reality of our business.
Yeah, it's a sad, sad day for you.
For me?
Yeah, well, Buck Pierce, your favorite player. They don't want him anymore.
It might have been time.
It is time.
Yes.
All the Bombers fans are saying it's time.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Randy. Well, we've got quite the lineup for you tonight on Thunder Bay Television, CKPR, and Global Thunder Bay. With more, here's Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay, starting at 8, it's Bones, and the remains of an immigrant are found at a hazardous waste facility. Then at 9 on Hawaii 5-0, WOFAT is hunted to avenge the death of a team family member. And at 10, 16 by 9 takes a closer look at current affairs and the stories that affect Canadians. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 8 on Mr. D, Jerry develops a crush on a student's mother. At 8:30 p.m., Ron gets all fired up about power and energy on The Ron James Show. Then at 9, the Fifth Estate has the fight over guns in America after the Newtown school shooting. And at 11:35, George talks with actor, producer, and civil servant Cal Penn. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, it's the long weekend. Everyone always wants to know what the weather is going to be like, Fiona, for the long weekend.
Yeah, no pressure there. No pressure whatsoever. Okay, let's talk about, start with what happened today, and because it kind of sets the scene. We topped out with a high of 21 with winds from the north-northwest, gusting at times up to 43 kilometers per hour. So we are kind of acclimated to slightly cooler temperatures. That's a good thing for the weekend. We take a look at what's going on across the country right now. Vancouver, cloudy skies. They had some light rain earlier, and they're currently at 16. Prince George, still very, very hot. 27 Celsius. Edmonton, cloudy at 21, 20 in Calgary. So they're inching back towards seasonal values in Calgary, but still a little on the cool side. Low 20s in southern Saskatchewan, more sunshine in Regina, and Winnipeg finally seeing the winds start to die down. They're currently at 21 Celsius under cloudy skies. As we head into southern Ontario, Toronto has had a couple of light showers, and they're right now experiencing a bit of a thunderstorm at 21. Ottawa and up into Montreal, they're currently at 23, although with the Humidex, it feels like 28 right now. Quebec City, 22, and they are under a severe thunderstorm watch for tonight and tomorrow. So that sunshine that you see right there, although it's nice right now, a little misleading. Heading into the Maritimes, well, they're looking at some clouds and periods of rain throughout the last few hours in Fredericton and Charlottetown at 20, Halifax at 17. They've been seeing some passing showers throughout the day as well. Meanwhile, St. John's at 18 looks like they're in the same boat, but they still managed to hit a Humidex of 28 just a couple of hours ago. And they too are looking at some rain for tonight and tomorrow. If we take a look at the system moving in today, it's been bringing a northwest flow with it, some cooler air from the Arctic, keeping the temperatures a little below seasonal for the last little while, especially today and into tomorrow. As it centers more over the region, we'll see a little bit more sunshine. We have to get behind it to get a little bit more of a southerly flow, which is why Sunday we should start to get a bit of a warm up. Still a fair amount of sunshine for Sunday. Unfortunately, there's some precipitation trying to push its way in for Monday. We'll keep an eye on that. Now tonight, temperatures in the single digits, but the high end, so it's going to be nice and comfortable for sleeping for most folks. Just a few clouds here and there, and then tomorrow, as I said, a touch cooler than you might like. Low 20s, high teens, pretty much across the board, with the exception of Marathon. They're getting that nice flow of warmer air. 24 is what they're looking at tomorrow. At this hour, we're at 21. Winds continue to be a little bit gusty from the northwest. Tonight, a low of 8. Under mainly clear skies, and winds are going to rotate around from the west overnight. Now, we've already talked about the Canada Senior National Championships at Baseball Central. Well, we've also got the Strathcona Invitational happening, and tomorrow, starting off the day, 8 Celsius, by noon about 17, but winds still from the northwest, so it could feel a little cool. We could top out at about 20 Celsius late in the afternoon with the Humidex. If the wind tapers off a little bit, could make it feel like 25. UV index will be 5 or moderate, so if you are out there, still slap on some sunscreen, a hat, some sunglasses. Sunday, there's your warm up to 23, so not bad. Still a little cooler than normal, but not too bad. Partly sunny on Monday. There's an ever so slight risk you might see a short shower on Monday, but Festa Italia, this is an important day, so things are looking good. 21 for both Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're staying fairly consistent for the weekend and early next week. So have a great one, folks.
That's a pretty good forecast, I think. PLE is coming to Thunder Bay next week with lots of rides, food, and live performances. Brent Hawley has the rundown for you in this edition of Front Row Center.
Well, hello, this is Front Row Center. I'm Brent Hawley, letting you know what's happening in the community of Thunder Bay once again. And it's coming up on Wednesday, August the 7th until Sunday, August the 11th. Of course, we're talking about the CLE, the Canadian Lake Exhibition, the big party that's happening down there. They close it down to make Silver City a little bit harder to get to, but that's okay because they've got rides, they've got attractions, and they got some great performers this year, which includes a female Aboriginal Entertainer of the Year, Cheyenne Havorka. Now, she's going to be performing on Saturday at 3 p.m. CCMA award nominee Jada Dreyer is going to be doing 2 performances. You don't want to miss out on that. Saturday at 4:15 and Sunday at 3. And former Bud Country Talent Search winner Scott King and the Green Bank Band are going to be performing on Sunday at 2. Be sure to check it out for yourself. Lugina Costa is going to be there as well.
Front Row Center is brought to you by Teleco. We hear you at Teleco, your T-Bay-Tel authorized dealer, 601 Central Avenue.
Well, some security footage in Colorado helped capture a very sneaky thief. We'll show you who it was coming up next. Security footage in Colorado captures an unlikely thief. Take a look. A black bear is caught on camera red-handed, but she still makes her getaway, wheeling that dumpster away from the back of a Colorado Springs restaurant. It worked so well, she was back to do it all again a couple of nights later. The restaurant owner says he's not surprised the bear was lured in by their tasty leftovers, but they've decided to chain up the dumpster just so the bear can't turn it into her personal food truck. It's probably a great meal.
Annoy her?
Yeah, well,
I don't
she's
wanna
probably
make
not gonna
her
like
mad.
it. No. We're going to recap our top story. I'm sure everyone in the city has been very excited today. The Stanley Cup was here. Patrick Sharp brought it to our station earlier today. It was at Fort William Gardens and the George Jeffrey Children's Center as well.
And in sports tonight, very busy. Canadian Senior Little League Championships continue. Thunder Bay Selects are playing South Ottawa. That game is underway. And a score from the Thunder Bay Chill PDL semifinal. They are scoreless at the half against the Victoria Highlanders. We'll have more for you on that one on the Lit Edition.
Okay, and everybody has plans for the long weekend, and probably most of them are going to be outside. So here's where we stand. Cool nights and sunshine with slightly below seasonal temperatures. We're talking low 20s for most of the weekend and the all-important Festa Italia. So get out there and enjoy it.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a great weekend.